Hello, and welcome back to Slinky's Riven Reviews. Today, we're gonna review a Lato Vandal Riven, because I'm sadly unfortunate enough to not have the Lato Prime. What are we gonna review, you ask? Well, we have this wonderful Lato Acrisaticron, crit chance, crit damage, multi-shot, negative slash. And how will it work out? Well, let's see. First for the build and what the Lato is. The Lato Vandal has very high crit chance, a very high crit multiplier, 15 bullets in the magazine, a very fast reload speed, below average status chance, and an IPS spread that is very much favored towards slash damage. For the build, we're going to run the following. We're gonna run two 60/60 mods to bump up the status chance a little bit and also add corrosive damage. Also adding pathogen rounds to bump up the corrosive damage even further, so we get to the 1175 we have on here right now. Hornet Strike for more damage, because our Riven doesn't have any damage on it. Barrel Diffusion for more multi-shot, so we get more status consistency. Primed Expel of Corrupted to deal more damage against the Corrupted faction. We're showcasing this against partially in this video. And Seeker to get a better ammo economy and also faster kill times against multiple enemies at once. The Riven, as mentioned before, is dual crit multi-shot minus slash, and due to that reason we're not going to run any other crit mods. You might ask, why are you not adding at least the primed pistol gambit mod to bump the crit chance over 100%, but as it seems like after testing, that isn't really that needed for this weapon to be the best it could be. It's actually more beneficial to get the flat 55% damage to corrupted than bumping the crit chance up to 120%. What we also could do is add primed target cracker instead of primed expel of corrupted, because that will allow us to get the crit damage up to 8 times, which is very beneficial since the Lato Vandal is a very aim-friendly weapon with pinpoint accuracy, so we can cash in on the headshots we might be able to do with this weapon. But after testing, I just found out that adding the primed expel instead felt like a lot more consistent overall. The interesting thing about the Lato is that it actually has a very decent amount of fire rate on it, even though it's a semi-auto weapon. So if you're able to click very fast, or use like a macro or like your scroll wheel bound to fire, you're able to achieve a very high fire rate with it, which might be pretty beneficial against heavily armored enemies. You might want to get a lot of status procs, for example corrosive procs, on to strip their armor. One little issue about that is that it has a very above average amount of recoil on it though, which really takes your skill into account when adjusting for the recoil, so you can still get that very consistent amount of headshots. Now let's test against corrupted bombards. As shown in the Exani video before, they initially don't take that much damage from the weapon itself, but the further you get into stripping their armor, the higher the damage becomes, because only their health will be left. Killed them very nicely. Swapping out the Bane for primed expel of Grenier now, so we can test against some manic bombards. Now let's test against these Drakkar manic bombards. As you can see, the Lato starts to struggle a little bit against these, because these have so much effective health, and the status chance on the weapon itself isn't really that good to strip that much armor very fast, but it still takes care of their health pretty decently, especially considering that you're not really going to encounter these anytime soon in your normal gameplay. Alright, let's do a quick comparison against all these 3 enemy types I compared against before without having punch through on here, because some people really don't like punch through as much as I do, but I guess that's fine for everybody. So let's put in the prime target cracker I mentioned before instead, and try it against these enemies. Yeah, pretty good. And now against the Manic Bombard again, I obviously put on the Bane of Grenier beforehand, so let's see. Yeah, kills in about 3 clips and a few shots. Pretty good. Now for the obligatory gas build of this video, which personally surprised me the most, I guess, because the weapon doesn't have that much status chance, but from testing, as you'll see, it performed surprisingly well. So let's check it out. As you can see, it takes care of these enemies really quickly, even though the status chance is quote-unquote very low. I personally prefer this build, but to the corrosive one even. Now against corrupted bombards. Those don't have as much base health as the heavy gunners do, so they die even faster to this, which is quite impressive. And now lastly, again against the Drakkar Manic Bombards. As you can see, these are again quite something to face against. Not really phased the slightest by the damage I'm bringing up against them. But what can you expect? Still dealt okay damage, I suppose. TLDR, is it worth Riven modding the Lato Vandal? I mean, sure, I guess. Its disposition got nerfed quite a bit since the Vandal got introduced to the general public, but still, after all of that, it's still a very solid secondary weapon to have, especially when you like the rather fast-firing semi-automatic gameplay it provides. So, what did we learn today? Well, DE, please give Lato Prime. Lato Prime has such insane stats in comparison to the Lato Vandal. It doesn't even compare the slightest. If I had Lato Prime, it would just annihilate everything I put it against. But since this is what I gotta work with, well, I suppose it's fairly good for what I got, so I won't really complain about it. So yeah, if you enjoyed watching the video, leave a like, comment down below what you want to see next. Follow me on Twitter maybe, or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more fresh Riven review content and maybe other stuff in the future. And as always, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.